everybody, it's Jennifer with ParentTeens, and I am here with Kyle. Kyle is the founder of To the Next Step, which is an amazing educational services company that helps students prepare for the next step, right? Hello, Kyle.
Exactly. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. So tell us exactly what To the Next Step does.
Sure. So we're an educational coaching and services company. And basically what we do is we work with high school and college students, and we help them prepare for the next steps in life. And it really depends on where they are in life. That's one of the things that we really focus in on our coaching, which we can go into in a second. And it's basically focuses on what's coming next. So that could be high school, applying to college, choosing the right college for you, your college experience. It could be internships, building a network, resume, cover letter. It could be as deep as figuring yourself out, how to go about that. Things, we cover topics such as social media, again, networking, how to build your skills, how to break bad habits. And it's really all a culmination of making sure that when you graduate and you enter the real world and you enter the workforce, you know what you're getting yourself into. You know what's going to be expected of you. That career that you've been studying for, that career you're thinking about, you're going to know everything about it. So there isn't going to be a lot of surprises. And that's really what we do. Our main focus is the coaching. I'm the main coach. So, when you fill out that form on the website, I'm the one that emails you back. We don't have an automated system, and we never will. Well, maybe I shouldn't say that, but for the foreseeable future, I'm the one that emails you back, and I'm the one that works with your student. We also have an online course available. It's called How to Select the Right College for You, which we can talk about in a little bit, but it's an on-demand course. It's very budget-friendly, something you can watch in your own time. And on my website, you can also purchase my book and book me to speak. So, it's really a full services with the real foundation just being coaching and helping students prepare for that next step in life.
That is so awesome. As you're talking, there's like, oh, we need that. We need that. I've got an 18-year-old that needs all of these, and it would just be wonderful to connect the two of you. So what I'm interested in knowing, Kyle, is how did you get into creating this company to help others kind of reach their full potential and realize what to expect?
Sure. So really, I graduated college about 10 years ago. So I've been working in corporate America for about 10 years. So, and I like to tell people that because I like them to know that, I have been there. I do have a lot of experience and a lot of connections. But really what happened a few years in was I was starting to work with a number of different people. I had a few different jobs out of college, and I was meeting a lot of different people, and I've always been very personable. So I always make friends wherever I go. But it seemed like, unlike school, where everyone was in such a good mood, at work, everyone was in a bad mood. And I didn't really understand that, especially when I got to one company, which is a very successful company that treated us very well, but people were still unhappy. And when I dug deeper, because that's what I do, I learned that these people were unsatisfied with their lives. They were unsatisfied with who they were becoming as people. And they were really just wishing their week away. They were always saying to me, oh, is it Friday yet? Is it Friday yet? And I can't stand that. Because you're really wishing the majority of your week away only to come back in on Monday and say, oh, the weekend was too short. So I began digging deeper into it. And it was about 2017, so a couple of years now, I looked into, I created a survey. It was very basic, and I started sending it out to every college graduate I knew. It picked up a little steam thanks to social media. And I asked very open-ended questions. And I didn't even really know where I was going at first. I just knew that I kind of wanted to understand what people thought about their choices. Because if they weren't happy with where they had ended up, maybe there was a reason for that. And what I learned from these people was that a lot of people were not prepared for this part of life. This part of life that you and I are in right now, we're adults, we're working full-time, we have adult responsibilities, we have all sorts of finances, and they weren't prepared for it. And it's not anybody's fault. It's not like somebody messed up, but it's just a matter of if you don't know something's coming, you're not going to be prepared for it. If you don't know that, if you move to an area and nobody tells you what the weather is like, well, you're not going to prepare for it unless you know, right? Mm-hmm. So, and that's kind of how it is about the real world and becoming an adult. And a lot of people said that they kind of, had a I'll figure it out later attitude. They said, I'll figure it out later. And then when later came, they were thrown into a world they knew nothing about. They were forced to take a job they didn't want. And then they ended up with a life that they didn't really intend on living. And some of that can be said to me as well. I was always been a pretty smart guy, but I never really applied myself in school because I always figured, well, I'm passing and I'll figure it out later. And then I found myself in a career which was fine, but it really wasn't for me. I should be doing the things that I'm doing now, and it took me a while to realize that. So that's when, back in 2017, I became a youth motivational speaker. Because for myself, I was really good at speaking. I knew I wanted to do something different, and I figured this was what I should be doing. But what I learned was a few things. One, it's just very difficult as a speaker to get into schools. Schools, they're really are really up against it. Public schools are really up against it. Their budgets are already being cut. They're always kind of either short-staffed or underappreciated, and they just never really have that budget or that momentum to bring in speakers. So it was very difficult for me to continue this message. But at the same time, I was writing a lot. I was writing a lot of things down. And I said, if I only speak, then I'm giving somebody else the power to give me permission. But if I write a book, well, then in that case, I can then, write my book, and nobody has to give me permission to sell a book, and people can buy that individually. So I began doing that, and my book went on sale earlier this year, and it's called To the Next Step, same as my company. And it's really a 10-chapter book that walks the student from, and any student can read this, but the ideal student is someone in high school. And it walks them through each year, and we have a list of goals at the beginning of every school year. And they're goals that are really going to help them prepare to be an adult, prepare to find their way, to discover their interests and their passions, and really kind of slowly but surely change that mindset from a student that is just kind of floating through to a student that says, hey, there's something I want to do. I'm really excited about it. But more importantly, I know what's coming next, and I'm ready for it. And the book was a hit. And really what I decided at the beginning of this year was that, I want to do more. So I've developed a coaching program. I spent a lot of time, I did research, and I developed a very specific coaching program to help high school and college students. It's a little different than what, you might see out there from other people. And I did that on purpose because there's a lot of great experts that are out there. There's a lot of experts in our group that do wonderful things. And I wanted to make sure I was doing something a little complementary, a little different. So what I try to do is I'm someone who has real world experience, but at the same time, I'm not a valedictorian. I'm not an A+ student. I'm not somebody that you can't relate to. And I say that because a lot of my clients can relate to me because I know what they're going through. I don't expect them to be A+ students. If they forget something and I have to remind them, I tell them why they need to start remembering, but I'm not, that difficult on them because I understand what it's like. So really, that's kind of how To the Next Step became what it is. It's, it was a matter of speaking first, then the book, then the course, now the coaching. And long term, there's going to be more books, there's going to be more courses. And 10 years from now, we'll probably have a number of people kind of, all doing different types of things. So this is the beginning of something that I think is going to be really exciting, and I think is going to be very popular in the next couple of years.
Kyle, I think that's amazing. Like, first of all, you say you started with motivational speaking, but you didn't. You started with identifying that people were not happy in the careers that they chose. They didn't get into a career and it wasn't how they thought it was going to be, and they weren't happy. And what you did with this is amazing. You didn't just stop there and go, oh, well, people are not, they're not happy. People are never going to be happy. They can be, right? With your coaching, when they work with you, they can figure out really like, what do they want their life to look like? Instead of, well, what do you want to be? I mean, how many years have we been asked this question? What do you want to be when you grow up? I'm still not quite sure.
No, absolutely.
Myself. but our kids, I mean, we're asking our kids at very, very young age, oh, at 3, what do you want to be when you grow up? Do you want to be a firefighter? Or, like we're constantly asking that, instead of what your company does is asking people, what kind of life do they want and what kind of person do they want to be when they grow up, and start with that.
Exactly.
And I think it's beautiful that you really identified that need in the world and are filling it. So I just want to acknowledge that before we go any further. Because
I appreciate that. Thank you.
a lot of people, I I can name off almost every person I know that is not happy in their job. And you have stepped up to do something about that. And you've stepped up to do something about that for our kids. Like, this is just giving me goosebumps because we all want to do the best we can for our kids. And you're right now giving them an opportunity to really take a hold of who they are and who they want to be and start from there. And a question I wanted to ask you, Kyle, was how soon, I've got 13-year-olds as well. I've got an 18-year-old and a 20-year-old. 20-year-old is in university and knows everything he wants to do and is very sure and loves it all. But how do we set up the other kids that aren't quite at that age yet? And like, how early should we be starting with talking about, kind of changing the way we talk about life after high school, life after college, the work life?
I think it's important. I think a lot of what I talk about probably will start and can't start earlier than freshman year of high school,
Okay.
simply because it is a mindset thing. However, if you have a middle school student, it can't hurt to begin to speak to them in a way that they understand that when you ask them to do something, simply speak to them like an adult and say, this is why you need to do it. And this is what's coming next. Let them know what's going on in your life a little bit. So they start to get a little bit of a taste of what is it like to be an adult. It's funny, growing up, I used to complain about a lot of things. Now I own my own home and I walk around this house and I go, I get it now. Like, I understand now. Like, I understand why we didn't do certain things, why we didn't buy certain things. Like the other day, I said, I'm not paying for that. And I said, oh my gosh, I'm my father. I said, because he was right. Why would I pay for that? But,
Right.
and again, I mean, now, if he had explained that to me when I was 12, would I have listened? Probably not. But what I'm saying is that, if you have a middle school student, you can slowly help them to understand how their positive choices have what's called the domino effect. If you start in middle school with, getting good grades, getting good grades is more than just a number. When you get good grades, it means you have good study habits. It means you're practicing discipline. It means you're practicing prioritization. You're practicing management. So all of those skills are never going to go out of style, and they're going to make your life easier. And if you can help students understand that if you learn these skills, your life will be easier, now all of a sudden they're working towards something. So I would say, it's never too early to kind of, help kids understand that there are certain skills to learn. But really, it really starts in high school, and it really starts to help them to understand, why they're there. And again, help them to understand things such as they might end up in a class that they know they're never going to use again. You reach a certain point where you go, I'm never going to use this science again. I'm never going to use this math again. But you have to understand, you're not going to change the game. You're not going to all of a sudden, then the teacher's not all of a sudden going to say, you know what, I know you're never going to use this again, so you don't have to come to class anymore. But what you want to do is you want to tell that student, you want to say, look, what do you want to be? What type of person are you trying to become? What are you interested in? What are your goals? Because you're going to have to become an adult someday, and you're going to have to work this career someday, and you're going to spend a lot of time and money in it. So what you want to do now is you want to start to build those habits so your life is a little easier. So yeah, you could get good grades in math or science. You may not necessarily like that, but you should like the idea of being organized. You should like the idea of being disciplined. And I think it really comes back to tying it to their future, tying it to them as an individual, because the idea of you should get good grades because I say so, that only goes so far. But if we can find ways to tie what kids do at 14, 15 years old into the rest of their life, I think that's where you can really help them, and it also goes for things outside of school. Like, for example, I do a lot of work on social media, which is something, I'll be completely honest with you, didn't think much about when I started this. I had a plan, and I created one small workshop for social media, and that really garnered a lot of attention. And I think if you go to a teen and you say, oh, be careful on social media, be careful about talking to strangers, they're going to laugh at you because unfortunately, you're not connecting, you're not talking about something they're going to care about. But if you kind of talk them through the fact that, hey, if you say the wrong thing now, you're not going to get into a good college, and then you're not going to get a good job. And all of a sudden, you're going to be 35 years old. You're not going to be making a lot of money. You're not going to be very happy. And it's all because when you were 15, you did something stupid. And I think that those are the type of things we need to find ways to kind of help these students figure that out, that there's a part of life that's coming, and what you're doing now, at 15 has an impact on when you're 35.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So tell me, Kyle, what would you suggest for a student to do? Like, what would the first step be to figuring that out? Like, can they do some research, or how would they start with thinking about what they want their life to look like?
The first thing I tell students is, and it goes back to what you said before, is to get rid of this ridiculous question of what do you want to be when you grow up?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a flawed question, because what we're doing is we're asking people to answer a question without letting them do any type of research. If you ask somebody, what do you want to be when you grow up? They can only choose from what they know. So they choose something that they think makes a lot of money. I hear that sometimes, or something their parents do. So I tell them to get rid of that question, because you don't have to answer that at 14. You don't even have to answer that at 22.
Mm-hmm.
What you do need to start figuring out is, I always ask the question, what type of person do you want to become? Because when you ask a student that question, everything really does change. Because all you're asking that student is, start to think about what in your life brings you joy, what brings you satisfaction, what brings you fulfillment. You notice I didn't say happiness. Happiness is subjective. Happiness can be a little weird. And the fact of the matter is that no job is always going to make you, quote unquote, happy. Chances are that your happiest moments in life are going to have nothing to do with work, and that's fine. But you can build a roadmap so you end up with a career that on most days you come home and you say, I feel satisfied, I feel accomplished, but more importantly, I worked on my own terms. I worked on what I wanted to work on. So I ask students, think about your life, what brings you those feelings? And one of the examples I always give is that a lot of students I speak to, they're the person in their friends group who always helps people. They're always giving advice. They're always helping people out of jams, and that makes them feel good. And that's kind of their purpose in the group.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, you want to become the type of person who helps people. And all you have to do next is make a list of jobs that help people. And that could be a very far-reaching list, because, people who help people, you have doctors and nurses, you have teachers, you have police officers, you have nutritionists help people. There's a lot of different jobs that help people, but what you're starting to do is you're starting to say, okay, I want to build a career where I can help people.
Mm-hmm.
50, 60 years from now, I want to look back and say, I spent my life helping people.
Mm-hmm.
And then what you do is you start to look at those jobs and you start to reach out to people. Reach out to those people who have had those jobs before, who are in those jobs now, and just ask them questions. What did you go to school for? What is your day-to-day life? What do you like? What don't you like? Because what happens is that you will have 10 jobs. You will cross off 3 because you will say, that job's not for me. And it doesn't make you lazy, it doesn't make you a bad person, and it doesn't make the other person crazy for liking that job. We're all different. That's what makes this whole thing go round. But you have to learn that now, because I can't tell you how many people I went to school with that I talk to now who never did that, assumed they wanted to be a teacher, assumed they wanted to do something else, went through 4 to 6 to 8 years of school, got into it, and their first experience was that day, and they had never figured out what it was going to be like, and they hated it. And now they're not doing it anymore. They're not happy. And there's no reason for that. In 2019, with the internet and social media and all the ways to connect with people, there's no way to not know what you're getting yourself into. So all you have to do is figure out what type of jobs align with the type of person I want to become. And then you start to research those jobs and you start to understand. And then if you start to whittle that list down, when it comes to applying to a college, you can say, okay, I've talked to 6 people who are nutritionists, and they all told me this is what they studied. And then to take it even a step further, when you start to talk to a number of people, you can find that some fields and careers, it really does matter what college you go to. But a lot of them, it doesn't. And you want to learn that very easily, because if you're talking to people and you've talked to 10 people in the same job because you're really, really interested, and all of them have told you it's not about where you go, just make sure you get a lot of internships, right? Mm-hmm. Now, when you're looking at colleges, and college A is $100,000 and college B is $60,000, you have the upper hand. Well, I'm going to go to the cheaper college. I'm going to save my money. I'm going to make my life easier, because I've been told as long as I get into a good college, I will make up the difference in my internships, as opposed to some careers where I may say, hey, these are the 5 top schools to go to. And then at least okay, I do have to go to those schools. I do have to pay that money. Or if you really don't want to pay that money, you choose another career. But it's really about researching those options. And that's really One of the reasons I love my book so much, and I think it came out so great, is because it really does take you year by year, and you can really kind of map that out, and it's really about learning as much as you can. So every time you make a decision, you're making it with that person in mind.
Mm-hmm. I think the tip that you just told us is worth way more than we would ever be paying for coaching with you. So parents, if you
Well, I hope I just didn't give away all the good stuff for free.
60,000 or 100,000, that's 40,000. So people, yeah, that is a good reason. And I just want to say that, like, I love the way that you are turning this, and you are really putting the power in the kids. I say kids, the students' hands, because if you're asking them, your first step is figure out what kind of person do you want to be? What do you like to do? Write down a list of all the careers that could encompass, right? And I never thought about it that way, because there is a whole list. If you want to help people, there isn't just one area, and it may be that you don't even know about that area yet, but it might, if you're looking at, let's say, working with young kids, there's a ton of different careers that you
Oh
can
yeah.
have working with young children, but it starts there, and just writing that list down. And I like that tip that you gave us too. You've given us so many tidbits of goodness in here, that I know are in your book too, and even more with the coaching. So I don't know, I got a lot out of that. I didn't write notes as you were talking, but I'm going to go back and listen to this, and I'm going to write notes again. And I hope that people ask questions too as they're listening, because I know you are just full of good information right there. You just saved us 40,000. You empowered our kids to, to do what is right for them. You gave them the steps. So first of all, do your research, figure out what kind of life you want, kind of person you want to be, and start early. And stop asking our kids what they want to be. And don't tell them this career is going to make you happy. So I got all of that. I don't know, there was so much more, and I know more and more is gonna come back when I watch this again. But I really hope that people connect with you, Kyle. So tell us, you are on the ParentTeens.club website, but tell us where else they can find you.
So the best way to get in touch with me would be to go to my website, which is tothenextstep.org. So it's thenextstep.org. And I would highly suggest that anybody who's interested at all fill out the form, because again, I send you a very simple, non-salesy email. Right off the bat, I will send you the free ebook that I wrote. It's called The Top 5 Regrets of College Grads. It's a summary of all those surveys that I did. And it's really gives an idea of what college grads did wrong, and what they could do differently. And I think that that's even more valuable sometimes than hearing what people did right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something you'll get right off the bat. If you reach out to me, I'm more than happy to set up a 1-hour free introductory call. And I don't sit on a clock. I don't sit on a stopwatch. If we go over an hour, it's fine. And that's for you as a parent, and also for a student. We can split it up 30-30 or 40-20. I've had people do both. But that's really to just kind of better understand my coaching, because the foundation of my coaching is everything I've said. Once I learn more about you, once we have the introductory call, I send you a survey, you fill it out, and I put together a plan and present it to you with our different coaching packages. So you really get a very specialized plan and a very specialized product. And one of the benefits of working with me is I will assign a student, homework at the end of each session, but more importantly, the student gets to assign me homework. And what I mean by that is that they get to say to me, for example, if you are a college student, you're already in college, and you're looking at internships and you don't know which company to apply to or which company to accept because you've been accepted to a few, I will look at the companies and I will tell you what I think based on my experience. For another great benefit of working with me, when you put together your possible jobs list, I challenge you to reach out to a person in those jobs. If you're struggling, I will reach out to people in my network. I've built a large network because I'll talk to anybody. And I will reach out to people. I can connect you with different people, so that's kind of the benefit of the coaching with me. And again, if we do a 1 hour call and you're not interested now, it's not a big deal. You still get the ebook. We also have, like I said, an online course, which we didn't get to touch on too much. It's called How to Select the Right College for You. And this is a great course because we don't really talk about the application process because that's already been talked about by experts. We don't talk about SATs. We don't talk about college essays. What we talk about is how to select the right college for you as an individual. We walk the student through figuring out what type of environment do they need? What is their current mindset? What is their current maturity level? I talk about all the questions you really should be asking on the campus tour and also what to look out for, because I'm honest. When you go on a campus tour, it's 50% up to you to get the real story. And I talk about what they're going to tell you, but then I talk about the questions you need to ask to get the truth, who to reach out to, how to reach out to alumni after the campus tours to get maybe some more of those honest answers. So maybe that's something that would be interested. That's on the website. But I would love to hear from people. If you, at the very least, you fill out the form, you get my monthly newsletter. So that's the best way, is to go to the website, fill out the form, and I'm happy to send you the ebook, and you can claim your free call, and we can take it from there.
That's amazing. 1 hour for free. I can't believe you're doing that. That's so generous. Thank you so much for doing that for our
Well,
parents.
it's important to me to talk to the parent and the student. I mean, that's always been very important to me because I learn a lot about the student, obviously talking with them, but from the parent. And a lot of times the parent will say certain things and tell me certain things, and I'll be able to understand, okay, this is really what the student needs, and we can get very specific on it. So yes, 1 hour for free. If we go over, we go over. And like I said, you walk away, you're not interested. You still get the free ebook.
That's great. Okay, so everybody go grab that ebook anyway, and the hour is amazing. Thank you so much, Kyle, for being here. I know we're going to hear more from you. I am going to put this on our Facebook page, so if people have questions, it is going to be after the fact. So this isn't live. I'm sorry, I didn't do this live. But please ask your questions, and Kyle, will you come back and answer those questions for parents that have them?
Oh, absolutely. I would say if you have questions, if you want to tag me in those questions, I'll try to answer them. I'm trying to be better about going on Facebook more often. I've kind of deserted Facebook because it's become a mess, but I'm coming back to it. So be patient if I don't answer you right away. But like I said, if you have a question, then you want maybe a quicker answer, you could always fill out that form as well. But regardless, if you tag me in the Facebook, I can answer it there too.
That's great. And you are a busy guy, so I know if you don't get right to the answer, no worries. I'll send them to you. How about that? If I don't see an answer on there. But I know,
feel free to ping me, because like I said, I deleted the Facebook app from my phone. I myself have actually been trying to go through a little bit of a digital detox these last few weeks. I'm on my phone way too much, and it's really hurting my communication skills, believe it or not. I know it doesn't seem like that because I'm pretty good at communicating, but so I've deleted a lot of social media apps from my phone, and I have reasons behind that. So I'm not on it as much, but definitely, say, Kyle, there's questions for you, and I'll definitely hop on and we can chat.
And I will do that. And I'm in the same position too, because I just promised my kids that from 5 o'clock until bedtime, I will not be on my computer or my phone, except tonight for this interview with you. An exception. They've all agreed it's okay. But yeah, it can get to be a lot. And that is really helpful for our students to hear too, that there are other things in the social media. But anyway, that's a whole nother topic. We could.
So I mean, we could do a whole hour on social media.
We could, but I know your time is precious. So thank you so much for being here, Kyle. And come on back. People find Kyle at ParentTeens.club, and also to the next step.
.org. Yes, somebody owns .com, and he's a very nice man. I spoke to him on the phone. He didn't want to sell me his URL. So
not yet. Not yet.
Well, someday I told him, I said, I'm going to call you back in a few years with an offer. He goes, well, I'm going to be retired by then, so I'll sell it to you. So
perfect.
But for now, it's .org.
Well, that's wonderful. Thanks so much, Kyle. We'll see you again.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.